All right, how's everyone doing? I'm Rich CELENZA. Thanks for tuning in to the Rich CELENZA Show. WTF are you talking about? So, what I want to talk about today is what I would consider the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me in my life. And I know sometimes things happen in our life that nothing really is ever looked at the same way again. And in this case, it almost happened to me twice within the same family. So I'll kind of go back and tell you how it started and then how it ended. So when I was younger, I worked for my father in Florida. He owned a vending business. And hold on a second here, let me grab my water here. And what happened was I moved when I was 18 from Chicago to Florida. And I started working with my father, and we started working very hard. His business, actually, it was a semi-retirement move for him. But what happened was quite the opposite. It went from him not retiring to tons of work. So in this vending business, he did a dart business, mainly. But he also did jukeboxes, pool tables, many things in that nature. 3D golfs, tabletops, all those type of things within gaming and vending in bars. We also ran dart leagues. My father had up to 1,000 league members at one time. I don't know how many bars we were in, but we were in a lot. So not only did we have to collect money, we had to service the games, and my father basically serviced them 24 hours a day practically. So we were on service calls. If we weren't on service calls, like I said, we'd be running leagues, running tournaments, moving equipment. It was a lot of work. So I'd get aggravated from time to time and just leave. And I also was lifting a lot of weights. I was gambling too, which we started to book. We would start taking people's bets. I would also start going all over the United States, including the Bahamas, and gambling in casinos. We'd go up to Atlantic City all the way to the West Coast, California, obviously Vegas. So we were really engulfed in that lifestyle. One of my closest friends even moved to Vegas that used to work with us during this whole situation. So I just want to give you a heads up regarding that. So this will make a little more sense. And my father had somebody, when I left once, he hired somebody who was retired that was a bartender named Johnny. Johnny O, we called him, and I loved him like a grandfather. So he kind of came in when I was gone. And then when I'd come back to work with my father would call me the prodigal son because I'd come and go. People a lot of times thought they were going to lose their jobs because then I was there to work. And my dad, I think a lot of times, because I was strong, wanted me to move equipment and collect money, and he felt protected. But we'd butt heads a lot of times. But regardless, anytime I came back, even at a young age, I used to tell everyone, you're not losing your job. You're not going anywhere. Because I didn't trust myself, nor did I ever want anyone to lose a job because of me. I'm not that type of person. So Johnny stayed with us, and then my father ended up opening a dart store downtown Orlando. And we sold a lot of things regarding dart supplies, because darts were very big then. We sell cigarettes, cigars, and we also sold billiard equipment. And it was like a hub. And a lot of people came in, even tourists from all over the world, including England. From all over, literally, the United States, but really, it became a global type of thing. And a lot of celebrities would even come in there because darts was really, I don't think a lot of people realized, back in the 80s and 90s, plastic tip darts, I should say, and steel tip, but very much plastic tip darts was a big thing in the United States. I don't know about Canada. So our store was a store that was, I think, one of the biggest stores in the country. We had, if you know anything about darts, like, I don't know what my dad had, over 1,000 flights. Over 400 different style darts. It was, the way he set it up, it looked incredible. So we used to do a decent amount of volume out of there. A lot of people thought it was a front because we were Italians. We did do the vending business, so we'd collect money and drop it all. It was a hub. A lot of Italians hanging out there. And we also hung out at a lot of Italian restaurants downtown. So when I do run into people, it's funny, even strangers. Not long ago, I was playing steel tip darts downtown Orlando with my cousin Mikey, and some people came up to us and were playing darts, and we're pretty decent at darts. We're killing them. And then we said, yeah, we used to play darts. We owned a dart company and blah, blah, blah. And he goes, where? And we said, USA Darts and Billiards. And they said, oh, I thought that place was just a front for mob guys. So it's kind of funny. That's the identity it had. But so I left another time. I don't know where the hell I was at. I was gone a while. And I came back, and my father had the dart store and the billiards, and Johnny still worked for him, and they decided to hire his daughter. And when I tell you, this isn't a great location downtown Orlando. It ends at one of the worst streets in Orlando, which is Paramore. But it's really not on Paramore, and it was across from the Orlando Arena is where the Magic played in the Predators, the indoor football team. But it's also on Colonial Drive, right off of I-4. So it's one of the highest volume streets in the state of Florida. And, I mean, it's wide open. Tons of people walking around constantly, good and bad. It's just like any other major city to a certain degree. You know how you have some good or bad. We're on the good side, on the College Park side. There's a town there called College Park. I call it the Mayberry of downtown Orlando. One side was kind of bad, which I was telling you, Paramore, if anybody knows Florida, which would be north. But then on the other end, the other side, I'm sorry, that would be south. South is Paramore, that's bad. North was good, College Park side. So we were on the good side. To make a long story short, I came back, and then Felicia, his daughter, Johnny O's daughter, that my father hired, she thought she was going to lose her job. And I told her, never. You're never going to lose your job here. We had enough money to pay myself and not have to lose anyone, the truth. And plus, she had 2 young, small children. And she, and if she found another job, that's wonderful. But I even told her, you're not going anywhere. Nothing's changing. And she was very appreciative of that. And a couple months go by, and I'm with Johnny actually collecting money. I was on the east part of town. I was at actually a biker bar that we knew. I think it was Betty's Laughing Horse. And I get a call. We had cell phones back then, and I'm talking, this is probably early, mid-90s. And I get a call from my close friend, one of my closest friends from Chicago who worked with us in the vending business. And he said, hey, get back to the store immediately. And I said, for what? He goes, stop what you're doing and just get here. So I'm like, okay. So we start going back. And by his tone, I thought something was wrong. And then Johnny was driving, and then he asked me, and I says, I have no idea what's going on, my man. We drive, and we're a few blocks down, and all we see is everything being blocked off. And we've seen vans, the news, we see fire trucks, we see cop cars and everything. We couldn't even get near our own store. We were like, what the hell's going on? So we were able to park in front of a steakhouse I used to hang out at, if I'm not mistaken, and we got out and started walking. And then I see everybody running towards Johnny O, my close friend, and he's older. So Johnny's retired Navy guy. He's probably at this point he's around 65 years old. Very handsome. He looked like an older Eric Estrada, all Mexican. And everyone runs towards him, and I don't know what's happening. And then my father walks up to me, and he says, they whacked Felicia. Someone killed her. And I felt like I was in total shock. And then I seen everybody grab Johnny, and I watched them move Johnny away, cops, everyone. And I come to find out that someone came in to rob the store, and they stabbed her, I think it was 47 times. I think in that number, this guy lost control. And I had a mixed emotions of wanting to fall to my knees and cry in disbelief, and then then the rage came over me that I wanted to find this person and kill him. So it was a mixture of emotions, and I've never had that happen to me like that before or since, thank God. And I looked at Johnny, and they had to grab Johnny to tell him, and he started screaming, oh no, oh no, oh no. And I'm not, whatever, I hope this story, if you don't like this story, I understand. But I'm just going to give you what kind of happened later. And so they had to shut our dart store down, and we didn't know this. This guy, I think I'm getting it confused, it was a long time ago. He either somebody else got killed at another store. And then this happened at our store. So basically they were trying to say we may have kind of a serial killer, because they were almost positive it was the same type of guy, what he did there and what they did. They shut our store down, took everything out as evidence. Then we had to have a meeting, and then Johnny asked me and my close friend to go, what do they call it? You claim the body. So we had to go downtown Orlando. They brought us in a dark room. And at this point, everybody is hysterical. We're still in shock. We can't believe it. I am besides myself, and me and my buddy, we were like two animals. And a lot of my friends I hung out with, a lot of Italian guys, a lot of guys from New York, and we knew hundreds, if not thousands. We knew thousands of people in Orlando. We were in basically every bar that include gentlemen's clubs, a lot of restaurants. We knew so many people, and we couldn't believe this. And then when we went and we had to, both of us walked in, and then they pull you in a dark room, and then they just put a light on, and they ask you, "Is this her?" And we saw her there, and she's under a sheet, and we said yes, and we walked out of there. The rage that came internally in me was just bonkers. I literally started personally, some others as well, we wanted to go out and hunt and find this person. And I think anybody who, if you ever watch the news or anything like that, where you see people that, how do I say this? You see people on there and they're like, you never think it's going to happen to me. And it happens. The emotions that's going on, and I'm not even saying Felicia was a family member, but she was a colleague, and I knew her for a very long time, and her father was one of my closest friends. He was like a grandfather to me. And when that happens to you, I think a lot of times either people break down and they almost can't leave their house, or it sends you, at least it sent me into a mental frenzy where I wanted to go hunt. And that's what I was doing, and my friend was, and a bunch of my friends. So we hit the streets. We kind of knew this most likely is a transit, and we knew the bars in the area, and we knew everything, you know. So we started putting the word out, and we were looking everywhere. And to make a long story short, they ended up catching this guy. And I think at a young age, he ended up having a heart attack. He had 4 kids. He ended up becoming a drug addict on the streets. From what we heard, he tried to rob Felicia's purse. She didn't allow him, maybe slapped him, and he lost his temper and went berserk, started stabbing her. I don't know where he got the knife. I'm trying to remember. He went way overboard, obviously. And if you ever watch, there's those shows, it's not on Dateline, but it's one of those shows. They had a special on how they caught this guy. And they even brought people in from South Florida who I became friends with. And then when I made my second film, I went to him for consulting, writing my screenplay on how, you know, I had this twist and all these different things that I was working on regarding my second film some years later that I kept in contact with. And then 9/11 happened, and then everything changed. But so I'm going to kind of move forward now. And obviously Johnny Ogaz, he ended up having a heart attack. Sometime later, while working for us, he came back, and we were all, nothing was ever the same after that, our life. Our company was never the same. I think the way I looked at my life was never the same, the way I looked at Johnny's family, because I knew them. Felicia's husband, my relationship was never the same. And it was not, what happens in that situation is you almost want to blame everybody's almost, they're not blaming each other, but like, it's a point where it's like it happened at your place. And we actually had an alarm set up, and she hit the alarm, but the dispatcher blew the alarm, and she forgot to send somebody there. And so there was a big ordeal with the state. I think it became a lawsuit, but we found out it wasn't our alarm system. But the bottom line, it happened it's when something happens in someone's home, say a child may drown at someone's home, you may want to blame the parents. You almost want to blame somebody. Johnny O didn't do that to us, and we would never obviously think, he stayed with us even after that. But it's so much chaos that came out of that, and like I said, nothing's ever the same. And I never looked at my life ever the same. From a security, I think they even changed the laws maybe in Florida, or at least Orlando, where the guy came in and you can lock the door from inside, and where I think she ran to go outside and it was locked, and it stopped there for a second or two, where I think now you're not allowed to have a lock like that. You have to lock it with a key, so your front door, if you're in business, should always be accessible or open. I also think her being by herself, and this happened in broad daylight, like around 2 or something, I think it's 7-Elevens or gas stations and things. I don't know if women can be, or men, I shouldn't say, anyways, can be by themselves after a certain point. And I think the same was happening with bars and things in that nature, where if there was only one employee by herself, either too early or too late, somebody else had to be there. That's what I heard. I'm not sure. I think that'd be a great law. But I'm always scared when women or men are by themselves. I don't care how tough you are. No one's that tough when you get hit over the head or whatever the case may be. If you're by yourself in a business atmosphere, I know people still do it. It's still scary. I'm not saying that two people would make a bigger difference, but I do think sometimes having two people there would be a deterrent. And what's interesting is Johnny was there previously. What ended up happening too is they brought Johnny in for questioning because not for what happened, but Johnny once had a guy come in and he thought he was going to rob him just by his behavior and left. And then they had an idea who this guy was, and then he used somebody's credit cards during a robbery or something at an ATM, and Johnny looked and he pinpointed him and said, yeah, that's the guy that came, and I thought he was going to rob me. And he comes to find out later that he came and killed his daughter. He came to rob them, or her. So fast forward now to, actually, I don't know, maybe 6 years ago, I was now living in San Diego, California. So this is roughly, I don't know if that's mid-90s, and this is mid-2000, whatever, 54, 30, whatever the case may be. You're talking a substantial amount of time, 25 years, whatever the case may be. And anytime there was a couple things I did with Johnny Ogas. So I'm going to get into that and what led to the freakiest thing that ever happened to me. So what I just told you was the most shocking thing that's ever happened to me, but not one of the weirdest thing that ever happened to me. Johnny would always bend down to grab money if he saw change, and I would never bend down. I hated bending down. He's like, you better respect money, pick it up, or whatever. I'd be like, yeah, whatever. And then also Johnny collected $2 bills way back. I think $2 bills were originally made for people gambling at the track. But $2 bills were kind of pretty common. They weren't, people had them here and there. You know what I mean? Still, cash was still popular in the mid-90s. And when we did our dart leagues, you had to pay $4 per person per night. So a lot of times we would have guys that would give $2. A lot of times you'd get 5, obviously 10s or whatever. But a lot of guys, we'd get a lot of 2s. And then when I would come back and collect all the money, whatever 2s there were, because Johnny collected them, he got that money for free. That was almost like a bonus every week besides what he got paid hourly. Sometimes you get $60, sometimes you get $100, sometimes you only get $6, I'm sorry, like a few. So we'd count the money up, and no matter what I had, he got that. And then I'd either reimburse ourselves through the business or I'd pay, whatever the case may be, but he loved, and he had hundreds of dollars worth 2s. He kept them as his little private emergency thing, and his wallet started to always get so full. I'd be like, you better empty that. He'd have a laughing fit, and so did I. But $2 bills was our thing. And anything I got unique coins-wise, I would give them to Johnny. It would be old quarters or whatever the case may be. I would say, Johnny, or old bills. We'd find an old bill because we dealt with so much cash. I'd be like, Johnny, check this out. And he'd go, oh, my God. I'd be like, it's yours. So let me get a glass of water here. Now, back to me living in Carlsbad, California, 25 years later. I am working out. My friend Locke says, Rich, we're going to see the new Tom Cruise movie, and I don't remember what it was, and I said, I'm not interested in Tom Cruise movies anymore. I'm kind of exhausted from going to the movies. I was going so much, and he's like, no, you got to meet us. It's $5 Tuesday. I said, no, I'm at the gym, and then I want to grab something to eat, and then I'm going to go to Barnes & Noble's. I was working on another book called Wingman. I got to write tonight. He's like, no, you're going to meet me. And I said, no, I'm not, dude. I said, I'd love to meet you. I don't mean to stiff you. I'm not interested in the movie, Tom Cruise, or any of that. He's like, no, you got to meet me. He kept insisting and texting me. I'm like, Jesus Christ. He's like, come on. I said, all right, I'll come. I could care less. And I wanted to grab a cup of coffee. I was dying for a cup of coffee, a cappuccino or something. And I didn't get one. So I go to the movie theater, and I just said, they have them there, and I like them there at this movie theater in Oceanside that we go to. It's beautiful right off the lake, if you know anything about California. Oceanside is like one of the surfing capitals of the world. There's even the Museum of Surfers there. So it's a phenomenal spot. I took my kids all over California. They loved Oceanside. I did a YouTube video on them as well. So I go there, I get a coffee, I go inside, I'm watching this movie. Actually, it was pretty damn good. It was with the machines, when his life keeps going over and over again. Can't remember the movie. And I was actually liking this, and I drank a cup of coffee, and I never, ever, ever, ever get 2 cups of coffee back to back. I like 2 cups of coffee throughout the day, 1 in the afternoon, 1 later at night. Never back to back. It burns my stomach. But while I'm watching this movie, something kept saying you have to have another cup of coffee. And I'm like, first of all, why am I at the movie theater wanting 2 cups of coffee? I could see if it's a great Italian coffee at a restaurant or something like that. Why am I at this movie theater? And it kept saying, go get another cup of coffee or get a cappuccino. I couldn't take it anymore. I don't know what it was. I went up. And what was interesting is I went up to this girl and I said, hey, how you doing? She's like, how you doing? I said, I'll have another, cup of coffee. I'll have your Lavazza or whatever they have, cappuccino. And she goes, what's that? And I said, you don't even know you serve Lavazza cappuccino. She goes, I didn't even know that. So she had to get a guy and figure out the price. And it was $3.50 clean. And I always use debit cards, especially at movie theaters, or credit cards, because I don't want to put change in my pocket and they slide out, right? All the time. So she goes, it's $3.50. I'm going to pay cash or credit card. So I reach into my wallet or whatever, and then I just felt something in my pocket, and I pull it out, and I don't know where 2 quarters came from. So I was like, this is really weird, 50 cents. And then I looked at my wallet, and I had a 5. So I said, why don't I just give her $5.50? I'll get $2 because I like to tip people, and I have singles on me all the time. It was a perfect opportunity. So I gave her $5.50. She opens the cash register. So I said, and she goes, oh, yeah, cool. Here, I'll give you your change. And she's like, where are you from? With that accent. And I said, I'm originally from Chicago, blah, blah, blah. She goes, oh, yeah. She actually literally, what nationality are you? Were you, what are you? And I says, I'm Italian and then a little bit Irish and blah, blah, blah. And she started to talk about Italy, whatever. So I'm waiting for my coffee. And she goes, you're not going to believe it. There's a $2 bill here. And I said, oh, really? That's very interesting. I said, because I haven't seen a $2 bill myself in like 20 years. She's like, I never seen one in my life. This was a young girl, like in her teens, probably 18. I was like, I never even seen one. And I said, you should keep it yourself. Put 2 to... She's like, no. Do you want it? It's perfect. And I said, I get goosebumps thinking about this now. I said, yeah, you know what? Yeah, because my mom actually, I told her, my mom a lot of times and my girlfriend, they give me $2 bills sometimes and hide them. And when I said I didn't see $2 bills, I meant $2 bills and somebody giving it to me in change, not in general. Because my mom, like I said to my girlfriend, they give me $2 bills for backup. They slide them in my wallet. They'll slide them in my suitcase or whatever and put a note on there. I don't know why. They just, both of them do that with $2. But I haven't in 20 years had someone give me change saying, here's $2. That's what I should have said. Anyway, she gives me the $2. And I put it in my wallet and I'm thinking about Johnny. And she says, hey. I was walking away literally. I said, take care. And she goes, hey, wait a minute. I said, yeah. And she goes, you like Italian food? And I said, yeah, that's usually what I eat. I usually only go to Italian restaurants. And she goes, well, my boyfriend works at a great Italian restaurant. I said, oh, yeah? All right, what is it? And she goes, the name of it's Felicia's. And I literally stopped. I get goose. I'm almost, like even saying this story, I've only told a couple people this story. I said, excuse me, what did you just say? She goes, yeah, he works at it. It's called Felicia's. And it first hit me between $2 and then Felicia coming up. I always think about Johnny because like whenever I see change on the floor, picking it up. And sometimes something happens. Sometimes every time I've done that, I see like an image of Johnny or something very weird happens that his name or something comes up. In this case, and Johnny's passed away by this time, so I should just give you a heads up on that. So he's been gone. She's gone. When I got the $2 bill from Johnny and then the name Felicia came up, I said, okay, thank you. And I started walking away and I immediately just started crying. And I went into the movie theater and I couldn't believe what just kind of happened to me. Now, I don't know if you've ever had something like that happen as well, but it was just very... I can't explain that. Some things happen in your life that are phenomenal, and I think that's one of those things. I really do think, and is there an afterlife or is there this or that? I don't know. First of all, Felicia's not even an Italian, really, not a name. I don't even know why you'd name an Italian restaurant that. And the sequence that happened for that to lead to that is just mind-blowing to me. So my point being here is I do think there are a lot of things around us that are amazing. And a lot of times I tell people we can't explain everything kind of going on. I don't think we're intelligent enough. It's just a reality. But I thought I would just share that with you because it was just one of the most unique things that ever happened to me in my life. The sequence has to mean something, and it means something to me. So anyways, I'm going to leave it at that. If you get a chance, you might want to also check out my YouTube channel. I'm going to throw it out there a little bit. I've been putting up a bunch of different videos, not obviously regarding this. This was just something separate. I've been hearing more and more people saying, hey, share some more personal things, some stories, because they know I have a lot of stories, especially working in the vending business, the gambling business, being raised in a nightclub. And I said, well, I'm going to share a very unique story the next time I talk on my podcast, because there's signs maybe going on in your life, maybe people have passed or maybe not, that are game changers, like that they're trying to help you or maybe take notice of things, how, other ones that are just in life in general, pay attention to really what's going around, around you. That's all. But yeah, check out my YouTube channel. I got a bunch of stuff there besides the podcast. And you can find me in other places like LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I hope you liked the story. And I'm going to tell you one last thing. If and I've been putting podcasts up. I just had a 50. My mother, my girlfriend, and my cousin, and everybody. They held a 50-year-old surprise birthday party for me, and I was in total shock. And I tell my daughters this too, and I tell everyone: appreciate the ones. Appreciate the ones you love. Spend time with them. It was so amazing how many people showed from all over the place, including Florida, Chicago, New York. Just tons of people came in, and I was in shock. And I was so happy to see them. A lot of them I don't get to see often, but they know I love them. Genuinely, when you're with them, acknowledge and enjoy those moments. They will not be here forever. Not everyone's going to be here forever. You're not going to be here forever. We take for granted thinking everyone's going to always be around. They're not, especially our elders. I tell my daughters all the time, like I had a wave of aunts and uncles on my father's side because they were all a lot older than me. They're all gone except for my father. They're all gone. Now I have, on my other side of the family, I had a lot of younger aunts and uncles that are now much older. And I know in 10 years, if I'm still around, a lot of them are going to be gone because a lot of them are in their mid-70s. Some are even going on their 80s, and a lot are having health issues, a lot of them. When I see them, I enjoy them. I listen to them and try to do things with them. I mean, really take the time to do that. If you are fortunate enough to have your parents, try to talk to them every day. Try to see them as much as you can. Love them. Because I'm telling you, when people pass away, and I'm sure everybody knows what it is, but sometimes when you have people that you genuinely love, that you spend time with, when they're gone, you'd give up anything to be with them again. But when they're around, you just take them for granted. Don't do it. Okay? Love them, and I promise you they're going to love you back. No one's perfect. If you've had issues out there with friends, family members, colleagues, I'm not sure how bad it was, but a lot of times if you're not talking to them or you got pissy or whatever, let that shit go. Go talk to them. Be the bigger man, the bigger woman, be whatever the case may be, especially if it's family members, or go make peace with yourself, make peace with them. A lot of times it just takes, the other person, like yourself, to just say, hey, I'm going to let that go. You did this, forget about it. You did that, who cares? Life goes on. All right? I'll wrap it up there. Take care, and if you're traveling, safe travels.